Hi, this is Joe Girdler of Roco Talks. Our first guest today is Jason Walser. He's the Executive Director of the Blanche and Julian Robertson Family Foundation. But today, he comes to us as the Vice President of the Bell Tower Green organization. And he's going to talk to us about the new park they're putting in downtown Salisbury. So join us for Roco Talks. So Jason, welcome to the show. This is the first show and you're our first guest.
This is fantastic. I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to do it, not knowing what I was doing and understanding.
Oh, this is great, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. What is the Bell Tower Green? Let's just start there.
That's a great question. The Bell Tower Green is going to be downtown Salisbury's new gathering place, a commons area, and a park. It's going to be a quality green space located about 1 block off the square of downtown Salisbury, where we all come together.
And that's where the big bank building used to be.
Right.
The
It's
Bell Tower.
The old First Union Bank, the Maxwell Chambers Trust property, which is where the First Presbyterian Church was once located. It was torn down in the early 1970s, late 1960s, and the bell tower of that old church still stands, and that's why we call it Bell Tower Green, is the bell tower sort of the centerpiece of the historic fabric of that property.
I remember that church. I thought it was beautiful. And I remember the bank. The neighbor's father was a vice president there, and we used to go up there sometimes on Saturday with him and play when he would work.
So interestingly, in the park, we're going to have a little homage to the old church. We're going to highlight the footprint of where the church used to be with some flowers, and you'll be able to get an interpretive sign that sort of shows you what the church used to look like to put the bell tower in context.
Yeah. It was a beautiful place.
It was.
Well, can you give me a little background then to help me understand, how did this whole project come about?
You know, it's a really complicated, convoluted history that stretches back 160 years. So I'm going to try to be concise, but basically the property was put together by Maxwell Chambers for the benefit of the First Presbyterian Church. Again, about 160 years ago, he owned the property. He gave the property for the benefit of the church to be used in perpetuity for the benefit of the church in a trust, in a legal document. His family is buried there on site. He loved the church, but if and when the property was no longer used for church purposes, the proceeds or the benefits of that trust were to go to Davidson College. Again, I told you it was a long history. Long story short, after the Great Recession, the bank basically, First Bank, which was the last tenant, the bank became obsolete, was a non-performing asset for the church. The rent house was empty. They were unable to rent it out for a restaurant, and the property became a net liability. They were paying taxes, insurance, having to maintain it, mow it. And so they were able to go to court, change the terms of the trust, and basically sell the property, applying the proceeds for the benefit of the church. And then the last sort of piece of that was the city was looking at buying it, but at that time they just didn't have the wherewithal to pull it off, politically, economically, and otherwise. So the Robertson Foundation, Blanche and Julian Robertson Family Foundation, was called to see if it was something we would be interested in. Long story short, again, cutting through many chapters of the story, the Robertson Foundation took out an option, talked to the community to take the temperature, take the pulse to see what fundraising opportunities might be there, if people felt strongly enough about having a park and a green space to give to it. We felt they did. The Blanche and Julian Robertson Family Foundation purchased the property, created a new nonprofit called Bell Tower Green Incorporated, which is different from the Blanche and Julian Robertson Family Foundation. And that organization, made up of a diverse group of 12 community leaders, basically started fundraising, started the master plan for the park, has since overseen the construction design, and in the near term will manage the park until it's turned over to the city of Salisbury. So that was about 160 years condensed to about 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I didn't realize it was that long of a story.
And I really did leave out parts of it. The most interesting part I left out, which doesn't take long, is this park sits on part of the property that was originally envisioned to be part of part of a commons area for downtown Salisbury. When Salisbury was chartered in 1753, the original charter lays out the location of Salisbury and the parameters of Salisbury, and within the charter it talks about an area where people can gather, a commons area where they can bring their livestock and commune together. So it's a place where public meetings would have been held at the time. And it was, this parcel is part of that property, which was a larger property, is laid out in the charter.
Oh, that is amazing.
It's like a park that's been in the making for 267 years.
That's amazing. I didn't realize that. That's wonderful.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
It's
Can you tell me, or can you share with us at this time, I know it's early, but can you share with us some of the amenities, some of the features that are going to be in the park that people
Absolutely.
can enjoy?
We do know the amenities. First and foremost, I've used this tagline before, it's going to be a place where we all come together. We want it to be used for a wide variety of programming. Certainly everything from yoga in the park to a Live After 5 concert. So we're going to have a big common grassy area, a lawn. We're going to have a stage eventually. We're going to have a children's play area, excuse me, close to the library. So there will be children's programming. That also, not coincidentally, but very much by design, the children's play area is going to be in the part of the park with the least amount of traffic around it. There will be restrooms that will serve, of course, the merchants downtown and all the community. We're going to have a lot of natural areas where you can get lost, places to get away from the sun, some shaded spots, lots of trees, lots of flower beds. So it will be a place of beauty. It will be a place of functionality. It will be able to cater to weddings and small music venues. And then it will be a place where we can have large people come together for events like Pops at the Post or Easter sunrise service for a variety of churches. Wonderful. So a lot of commons area. And then ultimately the Wren House will become a restaurant. So there will also be food service on site as well.
Are there plans for the Wren House now?
The plans are being developed. You may have seen that we have put a new roof on it. You wouldn't have seen, we have stabilized the floor, jacked it up, gotten it flush again. We've had some water damage we've repaired. And we've also pointed the bricks, dealing with the grout and the mortar to get up to snuff. And we are starting the process of seeking out restaurateurs. That will happen over the course of this year.
Okay, and they will lease from the foundation?
They will lease from the foundation, that is correct.
That's wonderful. Will there be set hours that you're going to be in operation, or is it open?
Ultimately, that's probably going to change. The short answer is yes, we anticipate that, but it's going to be managed by the city of Salisbury, and they're going to control those parameters. But it will probably be open fairly late over the weekend and close 10 or 11 o'clock during the week. We do anticipate there being times that the park will be closed.
Okay.
It will be well lit at night. We will have a lot of security cameras. It will be a safe place to be. But we're not necessarily going to invite people to sleep or stay there after hours.
Right. Have you had any opposition to this idea, or the concerns from the citizens that are coming up about what you're doing?
You know, interestingly, and surprisingly, we've not really had opposition, but we have had concerns. That's a very fair question. The first concern that we heard, and the one that has been most prolific, it's been repeated most, is the parking. And that of course we expected. You know, funerals downtown during the week. We have 3 churches that abut the park. That creates issues. So the parking was always a concern, and we've done everything we can to maximize parking around the perimeter. We actually have a brick streetscape on 3 sides. Jackson, Fisher, and Church Streets will all have a new brick streetscape. On Fisher Street, we're moving the curb in about 15 feet. We're going to lose some park area doing that, but we're going to create diagonal parking in front of the library. So we'll have about 16 or 18 spaces in front of the library that are new. We've already done the diagonal spaces in front of the Salisbury Post and on Jackson Street, so people can get used to the feel of the flow of traffic. Eventually, those will be brick streets, and you'll have similar parking. So the parking was a big issue. The other issue that we've heard a lot of concern about is safety. Everything from vandalism to homelessness, trash. People are concerned about safety and the appearance of the park. And we have gotten a lot of good information. We've visited 7 other parks. We've talked to park directors in other communities that have similar parks. So we've learned what works and what doesn't work, but at the end of the day, we're going to have to figure that out. Again, I mentioned we're going to have security cameras, lights, we're going to have programming. We will deal with homelessness, we'll deal with vandalism, we'll deal with litter in such a way that hopefully it's one of the cleanest, prettiest, well-maintained parks in North Carolina. And those things are going to happen. We're going to have those issues, but we have learned from what others are doing, and hopefully they won't be big issues. And after 6 or 7 months, it'll just be like every other park in North Carolina. We'll figure it out.
Right. Wonderful. Now, here's another idea. What is the total cost of this And who is it costing?
I'm going to speak, yeah, it's a really good question. That's another common question, by the way. I've done a number of presentations. By the way, I'm the vice president of the Bell Tower Green Board. That's the reason you're talking to me today. Dyke Messenger's the president, and he's unavailable today. He's actually out of town. But I'm going to give round numbers. Basically, $2 million for acquisition of the property and demolition of the bank building and a little bit of grading, some taxes and insurance. We say roughly $2 million. Another $10 million is building the park and the streetscape. So for us, the park is more than just what's inside the curbs and the boundaries of the park. These streetscapes are not inexpensive. They're relatively major infrastructure projects that are going to take months.
Yeah. And how many streets were that?
Three streets.
That you're bricking?
Correct, that we're bricking. And that's going to be about 1,400 linear feet and then 60 feet wide. It's a lot of pavement that we're tearing up and putting down brick pavers. So it's a big project. That's, again, not cheap. And the park itself's roughly $9 million. And so we're saying 10 for the streets and the park. Park's a little bit less than that, but we're trying to be conservative because we keep finding surprises. We've had any number of things that have cost a little bit more money that we found, but also we've made decisions along the way whenever we've had the opportunity to do something better or nicer than the original plan that we bid out. We've tried to err towards spending a little more money and doing things right so that when the city gets it, for the next 5 or 10 years, they really won't have any major maintenance issues to deal with. So the fountain is going to be state-of-the-art, very durable. It's going to be about as maintenance-free as you can get. The grass, the irrigation systems, the underground stormwater runoff, the brick pavers, the paths. We are putting tack coating down. We're putting down subsurface. Basically, unless an earthquake happens, none of this stuff is going to move or wear out or break anytime soon.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
How is it being funded, though? Where's this funding coming from?
So far, we've gotten a little less than $1 million from the taxpayers of North Carolina, of which about $350,000, actually about $400,000 has come from the city of Salisbury. The Parks and Recreation Trust Fund has committed $350,000. That is a state program. And then we're expecting funding from the Tourism Development Authority, who is promoting this as well, to the tune of $200,000 to $250,000. So the taxpayers in a variety of different forms, state and county, and then of course the occupancy tax is about $1 million. The rest is coming from private individuals and foundations and corporations, which is pretty remarkable.
Wow.
We have over 400 family units that have contributed so far. We are going to be going public over the course of the next 6 to 8 months and looking for those smaller gifts so that everyone can participate, trying to get children involved, make it relevant to them. So we're getting ready to start rolling out that campaign, which will, of course, involve social media. One of the reasons we're doing interviews like this and getting out to civic clubs and church groups is to start spreading the word and bringing the message to the locals, because we want everybody to own this. We want people to feel a sense of pride, and we want them to enjoy it. We want this to be a park that everybody feels is a comfortable place to be and something that, again, they're very proud of. I think it's going to be one of the best things to happen in downtown Salisbury in a generation or two at the least.
What other things are you doing to draw in public participation in this?
So great question, by the way. Before we started construction, we made the site available to a number of groups. We had the Latin Festival, Juneteenth. We've had, we had the farmers market there for years, and we're hoping that they come back. We've got a variety of different locations. Of course, Pops at the Post. We've made it available to try to whet people's appetite. We're going to continue to do that. This park will be available for free for community organizations for events like that, and then, of course, for weddings and private events, it will be available for rent. Right now, we are putting together a team that's going to help us bring in more people. We have engaged civic clubs and church groups, which I mentioned earlier. I've also spoken to a number of homeowners groups, and we have solicited ideas. In fact, one of the things I'm most proud of is we actually have changed our plans, the master plan, multiple times based on feedback we've gotten from some of the neighbors and some of the merchants about things that they wanted to see in the park or things they didn't want to see in the park. So we're just on the early stages of engaging the public. You're going to see a lot more about the park as we go down this road and try to finish off our fundraising campaign. And last but not leastly, the best thing that we can do to promote it is get it to start to look like a park. We've had a really wet winter. The rain has slowed us down, no doubt, but as spring rolls around, I think people are going to start seeing some trees being planted, some grass, some flowers, some bushes. So it's going to start greening up over the course of the next 6 months, and I think that's going to do more for our public relations and engaging the public than anything else we've done to date. Is just getting the park starting to look like a park.
Yeah. When do you think the park will be completed, and are we on schedule?
We're not on schedule, and we are going to ramp up the times that our contractors work. They're probably going to be working on Saturdays now to make up for lost time. The rain, we've had more rain, by the way, since January. We're filming this today on February 26th, I think. And there has been more rain the first 7 weeks of this year than has ever been recorded. We're up to around 13 inches right now. So it slowed us down, there's no doubt about it. We are hopeful that we'll be finished by October. It may be November. Don't hold me to those dates because I don't know what we have ahead in terms of rain. But if everything goes according to the normal weather predictions, we should be open certainly by Thanksgiving, but that's what we're shooting for.
In terms of your financing and public buy-in, is that where you want it at this stage, or is there a lot more?
That's a great question. We're still about $1.5 million short of where we want to be and where we need to be. And our fundraising committee, led by Mr. Paul Fisher, has been going gangbusters, setting up meetings, trying to apply for grants, working with our public funding agencies. So we're working really hard right now to close that gap. I think we're going to get there, but all eyes are on us for the next 6 months to find that last $1.5 million, which is another way of saying we've raised over $10 million, really approaching $11 million in pledges and gifts, which is pretty remarkable.
It is. That's amazing. A couple other questions, and really this is kind of the end. Thank you so much for being on the show.
It's been fun.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I love this space, and of course I always enjoy talking to you, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's always fun at Grievous Gallery. This is a neat place. It's always something neat around. But I just think you're remarkable. All the stuff you do for the community. How do you do it, and why do you do it?
Oh, Joe, you're too kind. I love this community. It's been good to me. It's been a very special part of my family life. We've raised 2 children here, and it's special. I've worked in a number of other communities. I grew up in Statesville, but I can honestly say there's something special about Salisbury. The philanthropy, the sense of pride, the culture, our history. It's got a lot of unique qualities that make it a great place to live, and I think this park is just one of the greatest privileges of my life to be able to work on it. It's going to be something that 20, 40, 50 years from now, I bring my grandkids back if I'm still alive and say I was a part of this, and it's gonna be great. So I get charged up and excited when I see great things happening in this community. And then, of course, the fabric of the community is people like you and your shows like this trying to promote our community. It's exciting.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks for being on the show. And I can't wait for this to be open.
I can't either. I'm looking forward to it.
I wish it was open now. And thank you so much for joining us on Roco Talks.